This is the story of Ramlal, a poor farmer who lives in a small village of India. Ramlal had taken a loan for farming, but due to his bad habit of drinking, he had spent all the loan money in drinking and he was unable to pay back the loan. Now, landlord was a cunning and clever guy. He had lost his wife 2 years before due to cancer and he had his eyes on Ramlal's daughter. He wanted to marry her. But he knew that insanity Ramlal would never agree to marry his 20 years old daughter with 50 years old landlord. So he devised a crooked plan. He took his friends and some reputed people from the village to Ramlal's home and started asking for the loan repayment. Now, because Ramlal had no money, he had no other option to plead the landlord to give him some more time. But the landlord didn't agree because he had to go ahead with his plan. Ramlal continued to plead for some more time and the landlord continued to deny. At last, the landlord softened his voice and told Ramlal, "Look, Ramlal, I know that you don't have any money for a repayment. I've lost my wife 2 years before due to cancer and I'm all alone. I need someone to take care of me. And that's why I have a proposal that can solve your problem and my problem as well. If you are ready to marry your daughter with me, I will exonerate you from all the loan. You need not even pay a single penny." And then Ramlal obviously denied. He said, "No, master, it is not possible. My girl is just 20 years old." And landlord replied, "See, Ramlal, the marriages are made in heaven. We are no one to interfere in a God's decision. Let the fate decide whether I am a good candidate for your daughter or not." Now, Ramlal couldn't understand what the landlord meant. So he asked, "What do you mean, sir?" And the landlord replied. He put a hand in his pocket and drew a sack and told, "I will put two stones inside the sack, a black stone and a white stone. And we will call your daughter. If she draws a black stone, she needs to marry me and I will exonerate you from all the debts. But if she draws a white stone, she doesn't need to marry me and I will still exonerate you from your loan." Now everyone who had come along with the landlord started convincing the Ramlal that it is a good deal. In both of the cases, he will be exonerated from his debt and he need not to pay a penny to the landlord, and it would be ultimate decision of destiny. The fate will decide whether your daughter will marry the landlord or not. So after careful analysis and thinking for a long time, finally Ramlal agreed. He called his daughter and explained her everything, what was the proposal and whether she agrees to that or not. When he was explaining to her daughter saw that the landlord bent and he took two stones from the ground and put it inside the sack. But both of these stones were the black stones. There was no white stone indeed. And the girl understood landlord's plan. She understood that landlord just wants to marry her and he wants to trick his father. Now the girl had three choices. Number one, she could deny to draw any stone from the sack. But in that case, his father had to repay the loan. And they were in no situation to repay the loan. Number second, she could draw both the stones from the sack and show the world that how the landlord was cheating. And third, she could knowingly draw a stone from the sack and marry the landlord to exonerate his father from the debt. It was a tough decision for her. His whole life was at stake. She looked at his father and then towards the landlord, who was giving her a wholehearted smile. And then finally she nodded. The landlord put the sack on the table and Ramlal's daughter went towards it. She put her hand inside the sack, and as she was taking the stone out, she knowingly dropped it on the ground and exclaimed, "Oh, how foolish I am! I dropped the destiny stone." And somebody from the group asked angrily, "Now, how did we know what was the decision?" And the guy and the girl replied politely, "Everybody knows that the landlord had put a white stone and a black stone inside the sack. One stone is out on the ground, so another stone we can check from the sack and get to know which was the stone that was dropped on the ground." And as she said it, she drew another stone from the sack, and it happened to be a black stone. Now, the wholehearted smile from landlord's face has disappeared and it had turned into a frown. But his reputation was at stake. The reputation that he has been maintaining for years. And in the name of that reputation, he had to exonerate the farmer from all his debt. And at the same time, he couldn't got to marry Ramlal's daughter. Now, there are 3 lessons I learned from this story. Like Ramlal's daughter, many times in our life, we face such challenges when we find that we don't have a way out. And we lose our mind. What we need to do instead is use our wisdom like Ramlal's daughter did. Because one way or other, there are solutions to get out of the problem. Only we need to use our wisdom and find a creative solution to the problem at hand. Number 2, the landlord was pretty smart. He had devised a wonderful plan to cheat the farmer and his daughter. But when you are planning something to harm somebody, when you want to take undue advantage, God takes his decision. And number 3, don't become Ramlal. Don't get into such bad habits that leads you to put your most important and most valuable things at stake. Don't get into that vicious cycle of loan, where you take the loan and spend the whole amount on your personal pleasure. With that said, this is Abhishek Sonari, your storyteller, and we'll meet again with another story. If you like this story, do like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.